Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, brothers in arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look at a pretty nice carry that I had in the Miyoko, the Tier 7 Japanese heavy cruiser. I'm divvied up with my buddies from TWA, Surgoi Kishu and Sicklehead, and they're playing in the Belfast and Miyoko respectively, the Tier 7 Premium British light cruiser and the Japanese heavy cruiser, and we're playing some Epicenter here on the map Trident. So, last Friday I featured the Aoba, as I have been continuing my grind up towards the Zhao on my EU account, and now here's some gameplay from the Miyoko. Now this is the same map, Trident, but it is a little bit different game mode, and you're going to see a good bit of gameplay here from this Tier 7 Japanese heavy cruiser. It is quite the upgrade from the Aoba in a number of ways, chiefly with the torpedo armament, the amount of hit points, and of course the main battery guns. The short on this ship is as follows. You have 10 203mm guns, which gives you a pretty spicy broadside power here at Tier 7. And sure, the AP doesn't have as much penetration as other 203mm guns, but if you do get within 10 kilometers, you can switch to it and do some pretty substantial damage, especially to enemy cruisers. So this thing even though it has the long reload, it is still advisable to try to switch between the ammo types whenever you need to. Also, 39,200 hit points is a very nice slab to work with. You can afford to take a Citadel on a salvo and still have about 26,000 hit points, which is honestly pretty nice, considering that this ship does allow you in the mid to late game to be able to tank more than other cruisers would, and it is indeed the highest amount of HP on any cruiser at Tier 7. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the torpedo armament, you get 4x3, so you can launch 6 torpedoes on a broadside, and they are pretty damn spicy. 17,000 plus maximum damage, 10 kilometers worth of range, and a decent speed at 62 knots. So this thing is in keeping with the Japanese heavy cruiser design, just like the Furitaka, just like the Aoba. This thing works in open water, on a flank, utilizing its concealment and its torpedoes to be able to keep things at bay and at range, and then utilizing its great high explosive performance to be able to burn down battleships and overall be a nuisance in that medium to, I guess, longer range combat. Now, our team is deploying somewhat good right now. You can see my buddy in the Belfast, Sergo, is smoking up, so we're going to continue to fire at this Gneisenau now that is making his way towards the island in front. Epicenter on this map is one of my favorite game modes. I know that a lot of people don't care for it, but there are a lot of angles that you can work out. But unfortunately, our team has already lost 2 ships. It's 355 to 515. However, I do get a nice double fire there. And throughout the course of the replay, please pay attention to the amount of alpha strike that you're able to get whenever you aim high enough into the superstructure on battleships. This high explosive performance is, quite frankly, second to none amongst other heavy cruisers at this tier and even above. So, after getting some shots at the Gneisenau, I decided to switch my focus here to the enemy Duke of York. At about 12 kilometers away, this is the perfect range, I guess, to be able to engage ships at, because the Japanese heavy cruisers also have very good turning radiuses for the most part, and also very good rudder shifts as well, so you are able to dodge shells pretty easily at these ranges. And you can see that I do have 3 ships looking at me currently, so I'm going to speed up now and continue in my kiting position. This is, again, Japanese Cruiser 101. Getting into these good positions where you can utilize all of your firepower is definitely advisable. So that's all good stuff. The Duke of York does beach himself, so I do get a nice fire right there, fire number 3 of the game, as he is desperately trying to get the heck out of dodge. You can see that the enemy team has gotten some really good positions here early on in the game, especially so around the middle part of the map. So we're definitely going to have to dig them out of there at some point. But the reason why I'm on the flank is, like I said, this is where these cruisers excel at. And also, it'd be nice to be able to push these dudes back towards the east a little bit before going back to the west and trying to deal with them. So I'm pushing here with my Arizona friend, getting some shots at the enemy New Orleans, who is going. You can see that the Normandy down there does take a pot shot at me, and I actually do get Citadeled for 9,500 damage right there. But like I said, you can't afford to take a Citadel, and it's not going to be too detrimental. I still have about 20,000 hit points to work with, and certainly I don't want to throw those HP away here as we're now getting into the mid stages of the game. But you do have a lot of hit points to work around, and it is pretty nice. Now, I am in a position where I'm able to lob at least my front turrets around the corner of the island at the Duke of York, and in the meantime, he is not able to shoot over back at me. Not just American cruisers can play this island-hugging game, but Japanese cruisers as a whole can as well. And you can see he did use his damage control, so of course I'm going to keep focusing this guy down and trying to get another fire set on him, which would secure his death. Unfortunately, we've lost our 4th ship of the game, and we're down by, well, at this point, about 230, 240 points, which is not very good. The Belfast did snap a shot off. You can see that he is camping at that island, which is a very good spot for a radar cruiser to be hiding at. So we're going to have to definitely get that guy out of here. But the Duke of York is going to die. There is no question about it, as I can now get my full broadside to bear. And here is another great example of how this high explosive performance is. 5,500 damage with 9 penetrating hits. I had every single shell hit that Duke of York, and certainly while not all of the shells are going to hit every time, that is some very awesome alpha strike right there, as the next salvo falls in, and once again, back-to-back 5.5k salvos. That one sets the fire on him, and his fate has been sealed as I burn out that Tier 7 premium British battleship. I also get another broadside there at the Normandy, and as the shells fall in, I do manage to get a fire on this guy. However, finally, I realize that I'm a little bit out of position, so I'm going to get my rear turrets here, shooting at the Colorado, and then what I'm going to do is drop some torpedoes. Now, in retrospect, this was probably not the best decision, because even though they have 10 kilometers of range, that Colorado is not going to be able to make up the distance in time. So that was a little bit of a misplay on my part. I guess I wasn't really fully focusing on how far away that Colorado was, so a little bit of a derp torpedo salvo right there, definitely. I can't really argue that. However, I do get a double fire there on that American battleship, so he does have to turn away as I get yet another broadside going downrange. And you can see that I've already picked up about 70,000 points of damage, which, quite frankly, if this was the end of the game, would still be a pretty healthy damage total for a Japanese heavy cruiser. You can see that even though I have lost a lot of health, and I do have adrenaline rush on this captain, the reload is still rather long. So going up against other cruisers, light cruisers especially, in a 1v1 fight is kind of a waste, because you're basically negating the hit points advantage that you have. So you definitely have to be aware of that. Now, at this point, we have brought the scores back a little bit. Our friends over on the eastern side of the map have done some work and bought us some time over here. It's 340 to 410. I'm now getting some shots downrange at the Belfast, who continues to sit there. It seems like the Mitsuki is spotting him, but we need to get as many hit points off the board from this guy as possible. Again, this is a light cruiser, and I really don't want to be going into a one-on-one versus him alone. However, we are chunking him down quite a bit, which is good. Those hit points that he will not be able to get back will help us out later in this contest. Now, I'm going to continue to head back to the east. At this point, what I was thinking to myself is I need to get north of the middle part of the map. Our team is spread out all over the place. I do have my friend in the Miyoko all the way over there with a Ganiza now and a King George V. The Mitsuki is going to kick the bucket there right in the middle of the cap. I'm not 100% sure what he's doing. However, the Belfast does get spotted again, so of course I am going to open fire. But very unfortunately for me, he is now inside of smoke, and there is nothing that I'm going to be able to do about it, as I do snap my next shot off at the enemy for Ataka. But this is a situation that you really don't want to be getting into, and I'm going to lose a lot of hit points for this. Also, unfortunately, I did not get the killing blow on the Furataka, so now I still have to stay broadside to get another salvo off at him, and because of that, I lost 5,000 hit points as I do finish off my second kill of the game. Unfortunately, I also beach against the island, so I need that plane wherever it's at to get far enough away from me that it won't be able to spot me, as the Colorado does take a pretty big hit from the Arizona. I take some more armor piercing into the superstructure from the Belfast, but fortunately for me, that plane is far enough away now, and I am also far enough away from his radar too, so he cannot detect me, which is very important, because I think I would have died there if his radar was ready to go. Now, unfortunately, there's still 2 enemy destroyers left in this game, and I am now hard detected. I do have a detection of 11.2 kilometers, so that tells me that these destroyers pretty much are guaranteed to be out to my right side based off of their last reported position. But if that Belfast is still chilling at the corner, I'm also worried about him creeping out of his smoke screen to get shots at me, so that's why I decided to turn away. But now that I see that the Belfast is firmly tucked into the island right there, I'm going to start to turn back to starboard and try to get back into this fight, because there's no reason for me to keep fainting away from the cap. We need to get on these. Even though we have the lead, the enemy team is in control of most of them. And unfortunately, because I've been spotted for so long, the Colorado and the Normandy throw some shells downrange at me, and I wasn't paying too much attention to those guys, to be honest with you, but fortunately all of the salvos go long, and then the Hatchaharu gets a very important kill there on that Belfast. So with that radar threat neutralized, I now feel a little bit more comfortable rolling into the middle part of the objective. Now, for those of you out there wondering why I decided to run with defensive AA instead of hydroacoustic, well, for starters, Japanese hydroacoustic isn't that impressive, and two, when you do get into carrier games, you do need it, because as a whole, Japanese heavy cruisers also don't have the most impressive AA suites. Now, unfortunately, Sicklehead is going to... maybe he's not. I guess he's not going down just yet. It's a 5 versus 4. The enemy team has the Colorado, which is taking quite a bit of a beating. He needs to die. That Arizona over there needs to make sure that that kill gets secured, because that's going to be very important for the outcome of this game. He's down to 3,000 hit points, but he is using his heal. I continue to turn left and right, just trying to potentially dodge these torpedoes that I would imagine are going to be coming in at me. The Normandy is also taking some shots down range at my buddy in the King George V. However, the Gremiashi does appear as he's shooting down range at Sicklehead, and that should secure Sicklehead's fate. So now I am the last person left in the division, as the enemy team now takes over 100-point lead. Now you can see here that my buddy is moving forward in the destroyer, and he does manage to spot the Gremiashi just for a split second. I shoot one turret a little too far ahead, but then I get the rest going in behind, and at 5,000 hit points, I get 4 juicy penetrations as I finish off that Soviet destroyer. You can see that I was looking downrange at the Normandy's salvo just to see if he was going to take a shot at me after I went undetected, and that's exactly what he did, and fortunately that one shell lands just a little bit outside, as it does not penetrate my ship, and I'm still good to go on 4,400 hit points. But now, since my Hatchaharu only has 568, if he's going to go into the middle of the cap, or deeper into the middle of the cap, which I should say, I still need to stay relatively close to him in case that second Gremiashi is in the vicinity, and I will be able to get some shots at him. However, that Normandy is at 40,000 hit points, and of course, I'm not going to be able to contest this guy one-on-one. I'm going to need the help of my team and or utilizing smoke and island cover to be able to fire safely at that guy from stealth. Now you can see, of course, the Hatchaharu is detecting that guy, but more importantly, that Arizona that's way down on the eye line is still alive. So because he's still alive, that Normandy is going to have to worry about showing the broadside of his ship to that guy, which is very important, and it also still keeps us within striking distance of winning this game. Unfortunately, though, the Hatchaharu gets a little bit too close to the Gremiashi, and the Gremiashi manages to sink him. So now we don't have any more destroyers left, and this Gremiashi is in a very enviable position because the Gremi does have very good stealth, and I do manage to get 3 hits on that guy for about 2,500 points of health, but he still has a good bit laying around. And now, unfortunately, the enemy team is back in front. They have the score 396 to 350. However, I have stepped in on the middle part of the cap, so the enemy team is not going to be gaining any points, but neither is my team. So, as the Normandy did use his damage control, I'm now going to get some more high explosive shells downrange at that guy to try and light him on fire and get a nice permanent one sticking to his ship. So, once again, just like an American heavy cruiser and a light cruiser, to be honest, I'm just kind of chilling here. There's no reason for me to stick my neck out too far and get detected, and I do manage to get that fire, which I so desperately needed on that Normandy to help out my buddy in the Arizona. You can see that he's down to 5,900 points of health left, so every salvo right now is important to just try to chunk away more hit points to help him out. The Normandy is finally moving far enough away where my entire salvo is able to get over the island. However, the last couple salvos that I have shot at him have been rather poor, one a little bit too far to the left and one a little bit too far to the right. The Arizona manages to get a very meaty salvo into that guy on his last one, putting him down to about 5,000 hit points, which is very good for our team. And once again, you can see this long-range accuracy, very unlike me, another poor salvo on that guy. And I was thinking to myself that I'm going to cause this Arizona to get killed because I'm not getting the rounds down range that I need, as I have my 4th salvo in a row with, honestly, junk. That was very, very junk. But fortunately for me, the Arizona on the team manages to chunk him down to 2,300 hit points. So all I need is one good meaty HE salvo and a fire, and this Normandy's fate is secured. However, he is certainly... Wait, never mind. He decided not to turn his guns towards me, and I do get the fire on him that I need, so I pick up my 4th kill of the game. And now, since I'm undetected, I know where the Gremiyashi is at. He must be behind the island at G6, as I now get detected right here. So I knew that information because I wasn't detected as soon as that Normandy kicked the bucket. So now I'm going to start moving in that direction, and somehow the Gremiyashi with the amazing stealth manages to stumble into my detection range, or his detection range, and going to get the salvo off, pick up the Confederate and the Kraken as we end the game here on Trident. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 332,000 credits received and 9,023 total experience earned. This was not my first win of the day. I picked up Confederate and Kraken Unleashed, dealing 113,000 points of damage off of 141 shell hits. I sank 5 enemy ships, set 12 fires, had 1 solo base capture as well. Taking a look at the team score, tops on the board with 2,187 base experience. Sicklehead came in 3rd with 2 kills and 1,256 of his own. So between the 3 of us, we combined for 7 kills and a pretty hefty amount of the carry that was needed to win the game for our team. Taking a look at the detailed report, that's a pretty good split. 81k with the main battery and another 31,000 dealt with the fires that I set, and just over 1 million potential damage, which, while is not that impressive for a cruiser, anything over 1 million is still enough that you were getting battleships and cruisers and the like to shoot enough salvos downrange at you that they were not going towards your teammates that they could have potentially shot at as a better option. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Miyoko replay. As I said, I'm going to get this Ibuki review up here pretty shortly, as I have some pretty good gameplay for it. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in, guys. We really appreciate it. You watching all of our content and enjoying our YouTube channel. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.